Australia's inflation rate is at its highest since 1999, but that won't stop IT leaders investing in cybersecurity. And following on from the Optus cyber attack, the need to strengthen cybersecurity is at a high and strengthens the need for greater protection and vigilance. And according to a OnePoll survey commissioned by Citrix, 4 in 10 IT leaders say that data protection is a top priority for IT security innovation ahead of digital transformation and hybrid work. And joining us to discuss the poll is Citrix CEO, Martin Cregan. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you, Michael.
Now, Martin, following on from what the media is calling the cyber attack on Optus as Floptus, this could have happened to Telstra or any other telco, but it just happened to be Optus. But does it strengthen the argument for greater investment in vigilance?
Absolutely. I think not only it strengthens, I think it solidifies the requirement for ongoing investment in IT technology and specifically cybersecurity. And as you were just mentioning there, security is absolutely still one of the top priorities for IT spending. And in fact, more than a third, or 35% of the people that we surveyed think the effects of inflation will increase the risk levels or the levels of threats in IT, which therefore means that the need to invest in security ongoing is absolutely so important.
It's an old saying, Martin, in comedy, timing is everything. And as much as the Optus attack was a major breach, it strengthens the basics of the research that you've uncovered, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it also solidifies, once again, Michael, the fact that cybersecurity continues to be a major concern for enterprise organizations, small to medium businesses, and for individuals themselves. If you take a look at cybersecurity for businesses, IT expenditure has become a main priority to ensure that sensitive data is safeguarded against cybercrime. And the Australian Cybersecurity Centre estimated that the cybersecurity attacks cost the Australian economy more than $42 billion in the 2020 to 2021 financial year. The research also found, Michael, that security innovation across Australia aligns with expectations in Japan, where 58% of Japanese IT leaders are investing in solutions to improve security. So as we see the economy changing and inflation rising, we also see the risk and the threat levels continue to rise. But what we're also seeing, which is very comforting to know, is we're seeing that IT leaders are continuing to spend on cybersecurity solutions.
Yeah, and I noticed in the research that the IT leaders in Queensland, South Australia, and New South Wales are going to be ramping up their investments. But what's happening in Victoria? Are they investing as much as the other states? And if not, why?
They are investing, and I think we just didn't have enough of a coverage across the poll in regards to respondents from Victoria. But absolutely, they're investing, and they're investing around the same levels. What we're actually seeing across the board, though, is that businesses need to prioritize securing their workforce so that their people can work securely regardless of their location. So investing in the correct security solutions and putting a framework like Zero Trust in place is really key to ensuring employees have access to company applications and that data without compromising the data safety. So yes, we want to make sure that the IT leaders are investing. Yes, Victoria is investing, and the IT organizations and IT leaders in Victoria are investing. But what we want to do is make sure they're investing in the right technology. I'll share with you a quick story, Michael, in that regard. I was doing a session with a big banking and finance customer about 12 months ago now. And in that boardroom session with these customers, I had the CEO of this organization tell me, we're talking about cybersecurity. We're talking about it as one of the top 3 tech trends that we're talking about. And I had the CEO of this organization tell me, Martin, when it comes to cybersecurity, we're good. And I went, wow, what does that mean? And this particular individual said, we're good. And the reason why I think we're good is because we spend literally millions and millions of dollars on cybersecurity technology every year. And I said, that's fantastic. The very fact that you identify that cybersecurity is important, the fact that you know the threat exists and the threats out there is fantastic, and the fact that you are aligning budget to that spend is phenomenal. I said, now let me ask you, you say you're good. What happens when you're breached? And he just looked at me. And I said, yeah, notice I said when you are breached, not what happens if you are breached. And the reason why is what we're finding now, Michael, is that most organizations, regardless of the actual security platforms and services that they're putting into play, will still be open to some form of risk. And what organizations really need to do is they need to ensure that they're not only investing in the technology to prevent from being breached or to prevent a cybersecurity risk or threat, they need to make sure that they're investing in the right technologies as well. And what I mean by that is they need to invest in a plan, an incident management plan of, if I am breached or something does happen, what's the plan? How do I actually go and how do I actually remedy that breach or remedy that attack straight away? How do I communicate internally? Do I have a third-party forensic company on hand to help us with that breach? All of the elements around the operational aspects of how we would respond are just as important as the technology itself. So it goes hand in hand. We not only have to invest in the tech, but we have to invest in the operations and the processes and the procedures and the planning around what happens if I am breached. And more importantly, what are the things that I should be doing to make sure that I'm not getting breached?
Yeah, we often stop short, doesn't it? We identified what happened, we identify with what now, but we don't seem to ask what next.
Correct. And that's, I think, what is really important is people, and then people or organizations and companies, especially small to medium businesses, mid-tier enterprises, is that they get comfortable in the fact that, yes, I've spent or allocated X budget to make sure that I have the tech that can help me or help me prevent from being breached, but they're not putting the processes around the framework. So as we just discussed, the security complexity is being compounded further and further with hybrid work. The increasing aspects of people working in remote locations, different networks, different services, different applications, different devices, and things like outdated technologies and unapproved application downloads can easily expose an organization, an employee, an employer, a small to medium business, etc., to a private data or a security threat. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we're putting in the best possible framework to combat that threat. And right now, the most comprehensive framework available out in the marketplace, Michael, is a zero trust framework, right? It's zero trust is this IT security framework founded on the principles of never trust, always verify. And the architecture itself represents a massive shift from the old handing over the keys to the castle approach that we had with VPN-based technology, where it's requiring all users to incrementally earn trust over time. So every time you log into a system, there is a validation. Is this really Michael? There might be two-factor authentication. There's multiple things or tech that you can build into it, but it's this framework, this zero trust network access framework that organizations should be leaning on to make sure that they're putting in the best possible parameters of securing their organization and their staff.
I noticed in the research that you've published that it says 63% of Australian IT leaders expect an increase in spending in this area, followed by 39% in cloud and 37% in network. Want to talk us through that, Martin?
Yeah, really interesting as well. I mean, once again, data protection and security being extremely important, right? And what we're seeing as well is we're seeing through this digital transformation process, small to medium businesses, mid-tier enterprises, as well as the largest enterprises in Australia, they're moving more and more of their services to the cloud. They're moving workloads to the cloud. They're moving all of their data to the cloud. And in some cases, it's a hybrid cloud environment, i.e. some of the information is still on premise, some of it's in the cloud. And what they need to do in that process is ensure that the data protection and the security is still there to make sure that their data is not compromised and to make sure that they have the right security processes and procedures in place. So that makes a lot of sense, Michael, that 63% of those IT leaders that we surveyed are saying, first and foremost, we're spending on cloud, we're spending in data protection, followed by spending and moving our workloads to the cloud. And then as much security as possible in network security as well. And that's once again where I think this zero trust framework really comes into play, because for organizations, instead of having to set up very complex technology like VPNs for specific individuals, if they have a zero trust framework built in with the right authentication methods, they can seamlessly provide security of the data, protect the data, and protect the organization, whilst giving the employee or their employees the best possible user experience. And that's something that we should also take note of. This is a very complex challenge. On one hand, you can lock down the applications and the data to the point where nobody can access it. On the other hand, we have a workforce that is moving more and more to a hybrid workforce, and we need to enable our employees and our workers to access our applications and our data from any device, any server, anywhere in the world, and to do that in a secure manner. So having these frameworks in place and having the right tech in place to give the user experience that is required, but also the data protection and security that's required is absolutely instrumental.
Yeah, especially when everything comes down to productivity. Now, Martin, we want to get more done in a shorter amount of time, and cumbersome non-workable solutions don't do anyone any good.
Absolutely. And that's why in the research, again, Michael, we're seeing that many of the IT leaders that responded were talking about zero trust is their answer to enabling a secure hybrid work. And in fact, 3/4 of the IT and security leaders view zero trust as the enabler of secure work within the organization, and 50% of them are either planning to implement it in the year ahead or have implemented it already. And this is really important to understand, that as our workforce goes hybrid, and we have introduced a number of new complexities in that hybrid workforce accessing data and applications remotely, it's really important to know that user experience is important, productivity is important, because that's how we actually all make money and revenue, but securing that environment is absolutely critical. So we believe that zero trust is absolutely a framework that everyone should be looking at.
Well, it's all fascinating. It's always great to talk, Martin. So Martin Cregan from Citrix, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Michael.